two top decks. It's PikaRom versus MewMew Malamar. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're taking a look at Pikachu Zekrom up against a Mewtwo and Mew with Malamar. Jordan, you're back. We're taking a look at what could be a matchup between the two best decks in format.
It certainly could be. These are two of the decks that I know personally have been going very well in my testing, and they're a pretty close matchup as well, to be honest. I think both decks can kind of play a couple cards that would help in the matchup against each other. Depends on which decks each player is playing, but overall they're both relatively consistent decks. I'd say PikaRom might have the bit of the edge in the consistency department, but Mewtwo's just got so much power that it might be able to deal with that speed and aggression that PikaRom offers. So definitely an exciting matchup, and I'll be looking forward to see what happens in this one.
Yeah, certainly going to be interesting. Looks like I've opened up here on my side of the field with a Gengar Mimikyu, which is not ideal, but I mean it could be worse. And Sam has opened with a Zeraora. So Sam is playing the electromagnetic radar version of this deck, which has been featured on a couple of other channels floating around. I think Tricky Jim's had a look at it and that kind of stuff. So he's going to be looking for that type of setup, and it's really just not happened for him here. That's just kind of been a really slow turn for PikaRom. I was expecting to be able to talk for a little bit longer.
Well, I actually, even if it was a slow turn, I don't think it was a bad turn, because for me personally, when I'm playing PikaRom and I'm going first, I know I can't attack turn one, I know I can't play support turn one. All I'm aiming to do on the first turn usually is just attach an energy to a PikaRom and pass, and he's managed to achieve that with very little effort. You've got a pretty interesting opener in this matchup though as well. You've got that Gengar Mimikyu in the active, and this is definitely a matchup where you don't need to save your GX attack for the late game that often, so going for that turn 1 Horror House GX to give yourself 2 turns to set up. Depending on Sam's hand size, you could even potentially get a cheeky knockout on this Zeraora with the Poltergeist turn 2 if you wanted to go for it, but just making sure you've got your Malamars set up, maybe even a Mewtwo on the bench ready to start attacking on turn 2, or your turn 2, because you'll be able to Horror House turn 1 to effectively get a second turn. It does look like that's what you're going for, because you have invested that energy into the active, and PikaRom can't really do anything about it. It's not like there's a Viridian Forest or a Stellar Wish or anything like an Intrepid Sword he can use. He kind of just has to draw pass and let Mewtwo have those 2 turns to set up.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's going to be the case here. I've had to Dedenne, so I think what's happened there is I've Magnolia'd into a completely dead hand and then just Dedena'd out of it again. But I have GX there, so like you said, Jordan, Sam's just going to draw here and then pass, and it's going to be my turn again. The question is, does Sam have enough trainer cards in his hand for a knockout with Gengar Mimikyu, or am I instead going to be trying to find something like a Mewtwo and Mew to try and start putting on pressure with that attack from Trevenant Duskmon Nightwatch, which is going to be exciting to see. I haven't declared this attack on the channel for a while.
And Nightwatch is certainly pretty good, but so is Poltergeist. I mean, even if Poltergeist isn't getting a one-hit KO, I guess knocking out a Zeraora GX isn't a huge priority. Like, I'd be happy to just get my Mewtwo onto the bench, start charging energy onto it, even if I don't attack with it this turn, just so I'm ready to start attacking with it when it's finally got enough energy to maybe take a one-hit KO on that PikaRom with that Ultra Crossbow we see in the discard pile there. And I didn't notice you trying to cheat and get that Mega Lopunny of that treasure. Good thing we called it.
No. I wasn't doing that. I was just showing Sam that I played. I was just being nice. Yeah, no, you're right. I totally put that down, being like, oh, did I play a quick ball or a treasure here? What am I doing? But I've managed to rectify it, and we've got a Mewtwo on the bench here with an energy attachment. I've also got a couple of Malamars now as well, so I can just charge that Mewtwo up. I've got 3 energy on it now. I'm going to retreat into that Mewtwo and use pretty much any attack that I've got. And it looks like that's what I'm going to be going for here. And we'll just be attacking with Nightwatch. So 150 and shuffling in a card. Potentially could have been better just to use the Gengar Mimikyu there, but hey, it's not the end of the world. Shuffling in a Lightning Energy and a Energy Switch there. Both cards that I'm happy to see personally go back into the deck.
Yeah, Nightwatch is definitely strong, especially when you force your opponent to pass the turn before they don't really get... It's not really fair that they have to pass and then lose half their hand. I'll be interested to see how many trainers Sam was holding. We just saw one get shuffled back into the deck, and he top decks the Lightning Energy, I think.
Actually, I think he had 3, so I think I could have got the knockout there. So
yeah, I think he's got 3 in hand still, so the Poltergeist would have potentially been the knockout. let's see, there's an Electric Power. I think there's a Stamp and a Supporter card in the end there. So yeah, it would have actually been the knockout had you gone for Dice, but hey, that would have at least given him the free PikaRom promotion, so all he'd need to do is attach and Thunder Mountain. But we actually see the Chaotic Swell from your side of the board, meaning he would also need to find his resetting Whole Marshadow. So it could be a pretty tough turn for Sam here. It could be actually quite difficult for him to pull off a Full Blitz on effectively turn 3 it is now, which is very slow. That's even worse than attaching an energy manually every turn. Not that you could have attached one last turn anyway, but you definitely want to see Sam go for a Full Blitz here to try and stay in this game. Otherwise, I feel like your board's just too strong that you're just going to run away with the game with this Mewtwo deck if Sam can't start applying pressure.
Yeah, and looks like the Tapu Koko V is coming down here. This is a really exciting addition to PikaRom. Means that PikaRom's they've got that little bit of extra, like, kind of gusto when it comes up to attack. It's got an attack that it can declare for 200 pretty much all the time. But at the moment, there's not a huge amount that's going on for Sam here with that. I mean, he's grabbing himself the Raichu off of this EMAG radar. Could potentially grab a Dedenne as well, but looks like he's going for Pikachu and Zekrom there. Maybe a Dedenne is prized, or maybe a Dedenne or a Tool prized. Maybe he's even got one in hand and he's about to get rid of this PikaRom, but yeah, it's not a super good place to be in. I mean, if he does bench this Raichu and then use Dedenne, he won't be able to get the Marshadow down. He won't be able to get the, what do you call it? What's the one? Tapu Koko Prism down. He won't be able to do anything. But he's got the Energy Switch. So I guess could be worse. There's a Sycamore, so maybe we find it.
Yeah, I think he's just going for that Thunder Mountain plus Marshadow combination. Or I guess he could also get the Tapu Koko plus Energy Switch combination. There's a couple 2-card combos that he can find in order to get this knockout. But he's played a Supporter card now, and he theoretically can't use Dedenne if he's trying to use either of those two strategies. He'd have to find the Marshadow or the Koko first, use the ability, and then play Dedenne if he wanted to try and draw more cards. So it's going to have to be at least a pretty decent hand for Sam here in order to pull off a Full Blitz this turn. And we see the Jirachi on the bench, which is none of those cards. Looks like he's just giving up on that turn 1 Full Blitz this turn. Sorry, turn 3 Full Blitz,
yeah,
technically.
Turn 3. We'll just give up on a turn 3 Full Blitz. Who cares? Get rid of it.
I mean, I'm happy to count it as missing a turn 2 Full Blitz because he didn't actually have a second turn.
Yeah,
but,
no, that's fair.
Yeah, it's definitely not an ideal turn for Sam. To gain turn 2 Full Blitz isn't the easiest thing in the world. I mean, it's certainly not difficult. The deck's definitely built to do it pretty consistently, but it's not free. Like, you do actually have to get at least a little bit of luck on your side of the board to pull it off. And it seems like it's not going to be the case for Sam this turn, and you're just going to be pulling really far ahead now, I feel.
Yeah, and this is a really bad situation for Sam. Not only does he not have the extra energy required, but he's got a Jirachi in the active. That means that I'm potentially going to be able to Mani him here. But no, I've just got the Professor Magnolia there, so I'm not going to be able to reduce his hand down any lower than it currently is. He's got 6 cards in hand. 6 prizes means that even a reset stamp won't be able to reduce his hand size. So I guess that's a good thing, but there's probably going to be a knockout on this Jirachi this turn. The knockout on the Jirachi means that the prizes start to map a little bit nicer. Could potentially use Naganadel GX to snipe that Zeraora, which has already been half hit. So it's a bit of an awkward position now for Sam, but on the plus side, he's almost guaranteed to be able to get the Full Blitz next turn. But I mean, it's turn 4, so you know. Yeah,
I mean, you've got, I'd say, 2 pretty decent plays this turn. You could go for that Naganadel, but I think the better play right now is just to take the knockout with Tag Purge from Latios.
Certainly is, yes.
Knock out that Jirachi, and of course give you immunity to that Full Blitz. So even if he does get the Full Blitz, which I'd like to think is going to happen, I'd be very surprised if again. But,
you'd have to hope so.
Getting Full Blitz for 0 damage while still achieving its primary goal of charging up a second attacker, it's going to put you even more far behind, to the point where you just might not be able to deal enough damage in time to win the game, because you've got 5 energy attached to your Mewtwo's combined right now. He's got the energy attachment. I feel like he probably has to find Gust to stay in this game. I think if he hits into this Mewtwo for 0, sure, he might be able to get lucky and come back, but he's just going to be in such a bad position that he's going to have to get really lucky to have a chance in this game. So if we can see, like, custom catches plus an Electro Power, maybe knock out that Dedenne GX, take 2 prizes and charge up either the Koko or the Raichu on the bench. That's what I want to see from Sam this turn. It's not a huge ask, but it's also not easy.
Yeah, exactly. That is asking for 3 cards off of a Dedenne here, but Sam has access to it theoretically with that EMAG radar, but no, there's nothing left in deck for him, so he's just going to have to Sycamore away 2 Volkners there, which is a little bit disappointing. Now just have to kind of hope that you get them there. I guess you've got to get the E-Power and the Gust, and if it doesn't happen, then like you said, it's going to be a really, really rough game, because even though there'll be 6 energy on the board, there won't be any damage online, so Sam will find himself a little bit too far behind to keep this one going. And it does look like there is the declaration. That's Full Blitz for 0 damage, and 3 energy comes down onto the field, probably onto that Tapu Koko V.
Man, that sucks. I actually saw some of the cards that Sam drew, and I definitely saw an Electric Power and at least one Custom Catcher in his hand, so he got so close to getting that knockout on the Dedenne. And honestly, even if he had gotten the double custom and missed the Electric Power, even just knocking out the worst thing in the world. But yeah, you've got that Aurora energy attachment onto the active, which means you're going to have access to the Ultra Necrozma Photon Geyser for 260 damage this turn to knock out that PikaRom in the active, going down to, I believe, 2 prize cards, and there being a Zero Aura GX with like 40 HP sitting on the bench, meaning I don't think it's ever realistically a way that you don't take last 2 prizes with 2 Mewtwo's powered up on the board, and we actually see a Shadow Box Mimikyu coming out of the deck there from you.
I think this is just thinning from memory. I mean, I could play it down and turn off Zero Aura's ability. That could happen.
This turn you can't.
But well, that's true. I've already got 5 Pokemon down, but I think this is just me going, I just need to make sure that if I do get stamped to 2, which is a possibility, that I've got the best chance of drawing into the Aurora energy next turn, because my gut feeling is I'm probably going to get knocked out. If I don't get knocked out, I need to find a switch, so give myself as good an odds to do that as possible, and hopefully, for my sake, Sam is able to knock out this Mew so I don't have to worry about it.
The funny thing is that you say that you're probably going to be knocked out, but it's actually really difficult. You actually need to hit 3 Electric Powers to knock you out with that Tapu Koko, or maybe 2 Electric Powers and something spicy like a Shrine of Punishment or a Zigzagoon, but I'm guessing it would probably just have to be triple Electric Power coming out from Sam here, and I'm pretty sure he used 1 earlier in the game, so that would mean finding all 3 of his remaining Electric Powers, hoping none of them are in the prize cards, and that's just to take a knockout on your Mewtwo and guarantee he loses the game next turn, which doesn't seem ideal.
Take a knockout and guarantee the loss. Yeah, no, probably not the best thing in the world.
So if we do want to pretend that Sam had a game, I'm trying to think, how can he kind of improve his board state without giving you access to the free win, because that 3 energy on the Mewtwo can easily become a 4 energy in Mewtwo, and a 4 energy Mewtwo, even if it's all psychic energy, guarantees the game with that Nagano having Venom Shot in the discard pile. So you don't need a Raw energy to activate Venom Shot in this deck, which is really strong. So I don't see any realistic way for him to stop you from doing that, besides maybe he's playing like a Lysander Labs and he could use Reset Hole plus Lysander Labs plus Reset Stamp and triple Electric Power to knock you out.
That's starting to sound like a lot of cards, John.
I mean, he's been getting a bit unlucky this game, so I think it would be fair for him to have 1 busted turn where he gets everything he needs, and then, hey, if he gets all of that, then he's about 3 turns away from winning the game still, and you've got 3 turns to find an energy to win. So I think this one's probably over for Sam, but hey, I'll be interested to see if he can at least pull off a knockout and make it look like it was at least a little bit close.
He got the stamp. The stamp happened, so stamp down to 2, which is a good thing. It's probably the most important thing for Sam here, is that he is able to get that stamp, which is quite good. It means that he's giving himself an opportunity here. He could potentially just come. He's just gonna promote here and paralyze, which is actually a pretty strong move, because now I'm not going to be able to just grab an energy to retreat. So that is quite frustrating. But it's one of those situations where I guess I've got a ton of time here, because that Raichu only doing 160. So I'm gonna still have opportunities here. We've got the Malamar. There's an attachment to the Mewtwo to guarantee that there's 4 energy, and then 1 energy onto the Malamar. So now everything on the board has free retreat with an extra energy on it, and Sam's gonna need to probably gust and maybe paralyze the Mewtwo on the bench. I don't know. This is an awkward one.
That play he made there was one of the best plays for making sure he doesn't lose the game this turn, but it wasn't a play that gives him a chance of surviving the turn after, because he's basically just delayed the game by 1 turn, giving you that 1 extra energy on the Mewtwo on the bench. So even something like a Lysander Labs, if he plays it, wouldn't be enough to slow you down now. I think, as you said, bring up the bench Mewtwo and paralyzing it might be his best play, or even better, maybe working it out with that triple electric power play we're talking about. I think did he ditch an electric power last turn? I think he might have. So the one hit KO on the Mewtwo on the bench might not even be possible, especially while it's got that big charm on it. It's definitely not going to be possible. So yeah, I'd like to see a Gust plus Paralysis from Sam here, which means he'd need double Custom Catcher plus Switch. Luckily, the stamp did stick. He didn't really play any cards from hand that were noteworthy besides that big charm, so he might be able to survive another turn. But once again, I don't see how he actually goes on to win this game without an incredible amount of luck.
It's gonna be an interesting one because, like you said, if we do see that optimal turn which we're talking about, then it's
looks like he gave up.
Yeah, he's just gone. Yeah, no, it's over. So I'm just. There we go. So we'll just use the Naganadel GX to take the knockout there. And I actually managed to top deck a great catcher there. So even if I didn't have the Naganadel, I was going to be able to take a knockout on that Zeraora. And you can see just how oppressive Mewtwo Mew can be against even the best decks if it does have the opportunity to restrict the setup. Really, all I did that game as Mewtwo was stop Sam from having a second turn and then remove a couple of cards from hand. And Sam really clogged up and meant that he was essentially 4 turns behind. So you can see just how powerful Mewtwo can be. But on the flip side, if Sam had have had an explosive turn 1 before I had been able to do that, then it could have been a very different game.
Yeah, if he had a better turn 1 where he could have maybe gotten 2 energy on the PikaRom, meant that he could have full blitzed into you before you got the Tag Purge off, would have been pretty strong. You did only use the Trevenant Dusknoir's Nightwatch attack once that game, so I don't think that it was the disruptive elements of Mewtwo that kind of beat Sam in that game. It was just, honestly, the sheer power. Like, you were able to take a one-hit KO on his PikaRom on the one turn where he needed it to survive. And I think that was pretty much the turning point of that game, if it wasn't already over, was the PikaRom dying and making sure you had the Venom Shot locked up on the bench for game. So yeah, hopefully we see a bit of a better start from Sam. He does get to go first again. And we see the Absol opening from you, which is not actually a very useful card in this matchup.
The worst card.
We see the Zeraora on the opposite side, which completely negates the effect of Absol in every way possible.
It certainly does, but on the plus side for me, Zeraora is by itself, so I could potentially get myself a quick little win here if I am able to find a couple of energy onto a MewMew. I think from memory, the best play that I could possibly make here is to find the attachment onto a Gengar Mimikyu and just go for the same slow setup again. But one of the things that I want to mention, Jordan, before it happens is this. We record these games over Discord, so we're not actually sitting at a table with each other. And sometimes, when you're not sitting at a table with your opponent, you miss stuff. And so, me, in this situation, I will be completely honest, I missed the fact that Sam hadn't benched any Pokemon, so I probably could have won this game a little bit earlier, but that's okay. At least we're going to see a full one.
Yeah, because you can theoretically donk this Zeraora thanks to Horror House GX giving you 2 turns. It's not unrealistic to say you could go turn 1 Horror House GX into turn 2 Photon Geyser for knockout. It's pretty difficult to do, but certainly not impossible. But what's more likely is turn 1 Horror House GX into turn 2 Poltergeist for knockout, because we know Sam's just holding, I believe it's 6 cards in hand after he attached them past. It could be a dead hand of just all energy, but we know it's probably not Pokemon, so the chances of 4 of those 6 cards being trainers, I'd say it's at least decent. So
yeah, you'd think it'd be pretty high.
Poltergeist is certainly a semi-reliable strategy. If it doesn't get the one-hit KO, it at least would apply a lot of pressure onto Sam's pretty terrible start, but it's not completely over for Sam, because if he does manage to survive this turn, which based on what you were saying seems pretty likely, he does just need to like bench a PikaRom, use Tapu Koko, and then retreat Energy Switch or retreat Thundermount. Like it's actually not hard for him to pull off an attack here. But yeah, we see the pass from you there, which means no Horror House. Well, I don't know if he had access to Horror House.
It was the switch. That was the thing. I remembered as the turn was happening. So essentially the conversation that Sam and I are having at this point in the game is, I've just gone, oh geez, you only have 1 Pokemon down. I could have just searched out Gengar Mimikyu instead of the MewMew and attached to it. But the problem was that I needed to get the Absol out of the active. So it wouldn't have happened anyway. I am absolved from playing poorly, and Sam continues to play, and it would have happened anyway. So that's fine. I'm fine with this.
Well, yeah, having the Mewtwo on the bench instead of the Gengar Mimikyu is actually better theoretically. Because you've still got the option to use Gengar Mimikyu next turn if you wanted to, but more importantly, you've got the option to go straight into your Night Watch with Trevnoir, or maybe start sniping early game with that Nagant or GX to take out this Dedenne, which looks going to be coming down. So you got a lot of opportunities to start applying lots of pressure. But I'm really going to be interested to see how Sam goes with this turn. He's got the energy onto the PikaRom. He's got the free retreat in the active all ready to go with that Zero Aura. And we see what might be a wasted double E-Power, but
it's a huge double E-Power for this Absol.
Maybe he can pull off a Gust and make them worthwhile. But yeah, if we can just see a full blitz on anything from Sam here, I think that would be pretty phenomenal. He's just 2 cards away. A Thunder Mountain, an Energy Switch, or a Tapu Koko and an Energy Switch or an Energy and discard would be enough. We once again see Sam going for that.
He loves it, mate. He loves the single custom catcher. He goes for it every time. Every time, I mean, but hey, it's fine.
This is a situation where it's probably okay to do it because you are just digging for those cards, so the more cards you can see, the better. I think I saw more Electro Powers into Sam's hand there, so certainly not the hand he was looking for. I don't see any Prism Star cards in his hand, and that's what he's really looking for this turn. I might have had Energy Switch, but Energy Switch doesn't matter if he doesn't find either Prism Star cards.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like there's going to be a retreat here into Dedenne, which isn't particularly inspiring, and a pass. So again, Sam misses the turn 1 full blitz, and that's a big problem for PikaRom. If it falls that turn behind, it really struggles to keep up. And one of the big problems now is that I'm going to potentially be able to really frustrate Sam by reducing his hand. I can't see exactly how many cards there are, but I don't think that stack of cards is very big. If I can get the Absol out and a couple of energies onto this MewMew, then I'll feel pretty good about using Night Watch this turn.
Yeah, Night Watch, unfortunately, doesn't do enough damage to knock out this Dedenne GX, which is a little unfortunate, because if you take the knockout on this Dedenne and take 2 prizes this early in the game, it would be really strong. Alternatively, you could, if you wanted to, go for a different Pokemon, such as that Megalopunny Jigglypuff. Just take an early knockout on this Dedenne and let Sam keep his hand, which obviously doesn't look super strong right now anyway, and it does look like you're going for that quick ball for the low puff to get it into the discard pile with Mysterious Treasure right away, so definitely seems like that's a play that you're tossing up in your head. Otherwise, we did see in the last game the Tag Purge strategy was very successful in slowing Sam down and stopping him from pressuring these Mewtwo's, so once again, even if it's not going to be for knockout on the today, I feel like the Tag Purge play could be pretty strong as well, and that's just the best thing about this Mewtwo deck, right, is you can pull off pretty much anything you want to do just because of all the cool attackers that you can use between Malamar, Mewtwo, and all the stuff in the discard pile. We actually see the Gust on the PikaRom, so with a perfect hand, double Malamar plus Prism energy onto that Mewtwo would even mean a Photon Geyser for knockout, which would be insane.
Well, we don't even need the attachment, right? We could just get one Psychic attachment and knock it out with the Low Puff and Jigglypuff.
There is more than enough GXs in play, so
there's 4. That's
very feasible.
That's the weakness of the Zero Aura build. Some people are playing it at the moment and some people aren't. That Big Charm, if the Zero Aura wasn't in play, would have meant that I couldn't have taken the knockout this turn, but it also would have meant that I probably would have just hit with Tag Purge, which you'd argue is probably just as bad. So, I mean, it's still waiting on the switch here. That's the big card from my point of view. If I'm able to find that switch, then the game suddenly gets a little bit easier for me. And there it is. So the Low Puff is coming in clutch here. Even the big Amulet not being enough to deal with the Low Puff. And PikaRom goes down, and now this game is even... Well, we were talking about it being rough before. It's going to be even worse now.
Well, yeah, we were just saying how, like, the Mewtwo deck has... it's a bit slower and less consistent than PikaRom theoretically, but it has the disruptive elements to it, which makes it strong. But that statement does not seem very true for this deck, where we're seeing it not only outspeed, but also have more consistency than PikaRom has been in this format. Sorry, in this best of 3 so far. And we don't see really any disruptive elements from Mewtwo at all coming out. You're kind of just going all in and just taking one-hit KOs with these tag team Pokemon, which is one of my favorite things about this Mewtwo deck, the fact that it can either play really aggressively or really defensively. But PikaRom, if there's any deck in the format, PikaRom is probably the one that can come back from falling behind like this. You can get one of those busted turns where he plays a couple of extra powers, gets Tapu Koko Prism, maybe an Energy Switch or a Thunder Mountain, and starts stacking with that Raichu. Probably won't be able to get to the GX attack for a one-hit KO, but if he can at least paralyze this Mewtwo and maybe play a reset stamp, I feel like he can put himself in a pretty good position to come back into this game.
I think what we're seeing now is Sam having an existential crisis, realizing that Tapu Koko Prism, I think, is in the prizes. So if we were talking about the game being unwinnable, Jordan, this game's looking pretty bad now. Not only is the
Thunder Mountain deck, so it looks like
the chaotic swell's in play, Jordan. Even that doesn't help.
Oh, he's gonna get the reset hole as well. It's fine.
That wasn't in the deck either.
Oh no! This is the time where you need to panic. He's still gonna paralyze the Mewtwo. He's just gonna do it a different way.
Yep, we're just gonna use the Dene here. This is the play. We're using the Dene's GX attack. Tingly Return, that's going to paralyze the MewMew, and it does 80 damage because he used an Electro Power, so that's pretty good.
Yep, that's one way to paralyze the Mewtwo, and one more relevant thing critically is it does actually remove one GX Pokemon from Sam's board, so if you were to find, say, for example, a Switch and a Custom or Greycatcher, so yeah, I don't think you play Custom, just Greycatcher, if you're able to find Switch and Greycatcher to bring out that Raichu tag team, all of a sudden, Jigglypuff and Megalopunny tag team is no longer doing, it's doing half the damage output that it was doing last turn, basically. So it would force you to find an Aurora Energy for that alternate crossover, but that's still only a 3-card combo to win the game.
Yeah, and I've just grabbed the Dedenne there, so I'm ripping through cards now. That's one thing about Malamar decks that never used to happen, but now I've got to look at that. I'm discarding switches, mate. I don't even need them. I'm throwing them away. That's how greedy I'm being here. I've obviously got a couple of them in hand here. So I'm just discarding them to get more Malamars out. There's the switch. We'll switch into the Malamar here. And it looks like we're going to be taking a knockout on this Jirachi. And the question is, how am I going to be knocking it out?
Big question.
Yeah,
you haven't actually used your GX attack this turn, so if you wanted to be super safe here, you do have 4 energy in the discard, on the active, I think, or at least 3, so you could attach and go for that miraculous duo GX attack to heal the damage if you wanted to, but looks like you're playing it a bit safer and just going for that Trev Noir attack to shuffle 2 cards, which is probably the smart play because it takes out that Jirachi as well. Save your GX attack for a later turn if it gets that far. If you ever actually need your GX attack to win the game, you're going to have that available to you now, but yeah, I think at this point, just no matter which Pokemon Sam brings into the active, you're probably going to be able to knock it out with this Mewtwo if he can't knock you out. And he hasn't taken any prize cards, so all those cards we know that he requires to pull off an attack are still in the prizes.
Yeah, can't even use Zero Aura and its GX attack here to charge up the Raichu. It's looking like a pretty tough situation. Tapu Koko V coming down here. So, I mean, that could potentially draw Sam a couple more cards, but the Prism being in the prizes is a big problem. And like you said, all it takes is an Aurora Energy, and this game is over from my point of view. So, we've seen just how reliant PikaRom is on getting a good start, but you'd think that it's been unlucky twice to not get going. Like, this is these are not normal games for PikaRom.
And we also see the Dedenne GX coming down from Sam once again, which of course is going to boost that Megalopunny Jigglypuff's attack up by 60 more damage. So now you're doing 240 damage once again. So unless that Raichu comes into the active, it seems likely that no matter which Pokemon Sam attacks with, you are going to be able to win the game next turn with that Megalopunny, even if you can't find the Aurora Energy. So I like his chances. He could just go into the Jirachi again, which I think is probably his best bet. Just promote the Jirachi Stellar Wish pass, hope that you don't find Gust or Snipe or whatever to knock out that Dedenne on the bench, force you to take one more single prize knockout, and then next turn you can maybe go attach Energy Switch Thunder Mountain and finally take a knockout in this game with that 200 damage from Tapu Koko V. I don't think that'll be enough to bring him back into the game, but at least it's something.
Yeah, it certainly is, but looks like the Gust is bringing up the Dedenne here, smartly choosing the Dedenne that has the Amulet already attached, reducing my outs to now just be Energy and Switch instead of Energy, Switch and Balloon, so giving himself the best chances of surviving another turn. But like we mentioned in the first game, it's probably not enough. There's the Aurora, the Retreat, and then the Naganadel GX.
I'm guessing is in discard.
Yeah, it looks like it is. There it is. So that'll be the knockout on the Dedenne. A shame because it could have easily gone a little bit better for Sam, but you can see his exasperation there. Anyway, good set, I guess, from my point of view. There we have it. Our set finished between PikaRom and MewMew Malamar, with MewMew coming out on top. Definitely a close one and worth testing if you're heading to Melbourne International Championships this year. Personally, these two decks are probably my top 2 picks going forward. There could potentially be a ADPization in there as well. Thank you very much to Jordan for joining me on commentary, and thank you for coming along and watching. If you like the content, then consider subscribing. We've got ourselves a little button up here that you can click to subscribe. Over here are some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, and there's also a little bit of a playlist down the bottom that you can take a look at, see some more of our testing. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at @thestabilize_YT. And apart from that, we'll all see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you all on the Stabilize. Bye. That was an awkward ending.